welcome to another episode of Relate to You, and welcome to season 3. Can you guys believe it? We've made it this far to this season, and I'm so excited because it's been a wild ride. I don't know if you guys missed us last Wednesday. That's where I'm at, guys. Last Monday. But we are preparing for this new season. We have a lot of new things, a new segment that's coming up soon. So we ask you guys to get excited, and also if you guys ever have any suggestions, like I'd love to see you guys talk about this or that. Feel free to comment on our episodes,
Please.
and we'll think about it. We'll hear your suggestions, and see if it's something that
we'll
we're
try
interested
to relate to you,
Yes.
your suggestions.
But on today's episode, we are going to be obviously talking about different kinds of stories, but what specifically are we talking about?
No soy la última coca en el desierto.
Basically.
Moments that keep you humble, moments
Yeah.
that keep you grounded, that make you realize, that is true. I'm not it. No soy la última coca en el desierto. Y es más, creo que ni a Shasta llego. O Shasta.
If you don't speak Spanish, can you translate and not just translate literally, but what
The meaning of
what's
it.
the meaning behind it?
So, la última coca en el desierto would literally be translated into I'm not the last Coke in the desert.
Right.
So what the meaning behind it is pretty much saying I'm not the best thing ever, right? Because think about it. If you're in a desert, anything that can quench your thirst would be good, and in this case, it would be a Coke, right? So that's why it's the last Coke in the desert. But it's pretty much saying you're not it.
You're not it. And so we can get to the reason why I think this is a good thing for all of us to go through. But can you tell us a story of one moment or various moments where you have been put in a position where you've learned, I'm not it. No soy la última coca en el desierto, and it's kept you humble.
Well, I'll start with something very light. I think something that perhaps we can all relate. If not, then I'm the only weird one here. But whenever I go get my nails done, especially my toes, whenever I go get a pedicure, wherever lady I get, it doesn't matter. Even if I go to a regular salon, like where they know me and everything, it still happens. They, the way they position my feet makes me wonder, are my feet crooked or something? Do I have weird toes? And now, mind you, I know that people say, there are people that think that toes are weird overall.
Right.
They're just not good. On the other hand, I think that there are people that have nice feet.
Right.
And I like my feet.
I think you have nice feet. Yeah.
I like my feet. So whenever I go into the to get a pedicure, that's me realizing maybe I don't have as pretty feet as I think.
They're probably like, oh, is this
or as structured as I think. Because I mean, she moves my feet and then she moves my fingers.
Yeah.
And it's just very uncomfortable. And I mean, I've thought about it. Maybe I should just get them done at home. Maybe I should just do my own toes. So that's one that happens at least twice a month.
Can we just take a moment? That right there keeps me humble, okay? Because, I always tell this to Lula, enjoy it now. Actually, I shouldn't even say that because there's a lot of y'all that are married and get your nails done, mani and pedi, regardless, But I think, for me, in terms of what has been a moment that has, put me in my place to remind me that I'm not it all the time, was when I first got married. When I first got married, I think everybody goes through this for any kind of thing. A new job, a new car, a new relationship, hopefully the only relationship, and things like, or rather, let me modify that. Not just when I got married. It's happened to me in several occasions when a big milestone has happened for me, and I realize people don't care. And I say that with, as much, I'm not trying to put a pity party, it's just the reality. I remember when I got married, I was like, in every sentence, I want to be like, my husband and I went shopping. Oh, and my husband, he said this the other day,
But
and
you
like
had nothing to do
even
with the
with like
conversation.
my siblings, I was like, oh yeah, my husband, and it's like, yeah, we know he's our brother-in-law, like, okay, and so I noticed that like whenever like something big would happen in my life, I want to talk about it.
Mhm.
I want to share about what's happening, especially cuando fuimos a Europe. Dude, I was itching for someone to ask me a question of like, what did you see? Well, let me tell you what I saw.
Sit
But
down.
but I thank the Lord that I have enough self-awareness that I read a room. Because I do think that sometimes people lack that. People don't
Oh,
always read the room, and they just go off and off and off, and people are like, I don't care anymore, and they're still doing it. But I had learned from when I had gotten married that there are people who are like, okay, where'd you go on your honeymoon, or what did you do, or how long have you been married, or one quick question, right? How happy are you now that you're recently married? And then I would be like, oh, I'm so happy, and this and this and this, and I'm talking and I'm talking. And I'll notice the person, either loses interest or gets on their phone or, oh, okay. Oh, by the way, that bugs me. When someone is like telling you that they're listening to you, and this isn't in an office setting. This is literally you're talking to people and they're not paying attention. So, anyways, I started to realize like, oh wow, like they don't care about how happy I am. And then when I started to do things, I went to Europe or whatever, the first time people see you after a trip, they're like, where did you go? Did you have fun?
Mhm.
Honestly, 2 weeks in Europe could summarize in this. We went to Europe I went to Europe with my husband and his family. We had a great time. Italy in Capri was probably my best. The food's really good. Lots of crazy traffic, but I had a memorable experience. That's it. That's all people want to hear. Honestly. And if
Past that,
anything past that is like,
They log
okay,
out.
you've given way too much information, because then people want to tell you things. Oh, I've heard this and this and this about, Europe, oh, I've heard that and that. Oh, do you know the history of that? Or, oh, oh, but you didn't go to this place, or you went to okay. And you're like, yeah, no, I want to tell you about what I saw, and then they're just like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad you had a great trip, glad to have you back. And that was probably one of the most humbling things I think I've ever experienced.
I think a lot of people experience that, but not a lot of people learn from that. I think there are a lot of people that I would say you can sit down with them, have a conversation, and you can tell they don't care if you care or not. Or maybe they don't have the capacity to read the room.
They don't have the social cue.
They don't have the social cue, or they're just kind of like very besides themselves that they're just like I'm gonna talk, and you have to sit through a conversation with people where they're just telling you not things that are how do I say this? I think it's very different than to have a deep conversation. I think deep conversations, I'm all for them. I love deep conversations, but these are conversations that they want to have about
an experience, and
I've done this, and I'm good at this, and and so
it's a moment to shine.
Let's
be
and then
honest.
you give them that moment.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of people that take more than that moment. They
Right.
want the spotlight now, and
Well, I think it's because the truth of the matter is, you have always said this, people love to talk about themselves.
that is true.
Look at us.
We started a podcast.
We started a
because of that.
podcast, So I definitely think that people like to talk about themselves. And I think that, you see movies or whatever, and you see the main character. There's a main character. And I think, at least in the Western world, we have this mindset of we're the main characters, and everybody's a side character in my story,
Which is not that untrue.
Right.
So
To a certain extent.
to a certain extent.
And so I think that's what it is, and so I think that was one of the experiences that I had. I never had anybody stop me, like, can you stop, enough, because again, I thank God that I think I learned,
Uh-huh.
but I think when I first got married, I do remember there being an instance where I caught myself giving unsolicited married advice, and I think we were only like maybe 4 or 5 months in our marriage, and again, when you get married, you aren't a perfect couple, obviously, but I do think that because you're having all of these new experiences together, and now it's about the two of you, you start to think of like, this could help someone, right? I could help someone in their marriage and stuff like that. And so when you see a new couple or someone that's unmarried, poor Lula, all the things she had to endure during that process, you start to feel like, if you want to get into this, I know, right? And I think that I don't remember like who I was talking to, but I do remember there being an instance where I caught myself, sharing little things that I was doing with Joel, and the person was just kind of like, oh well, but you guys have only been married for this long, like it hasn't been that long, and I caught myself, and I literally had that moment of like, why are you talking? Like yes, you're right. I don't know enough to share an advice to someone that maybe is not married, and I think that I know better, but is not asking for it. Is not asking advice. It doesn't want to know what's worked for me. And so I think
2 months.
I think even in that, giving unsolicited advice has
That is
also
true.
proven
I agree.
to humble you of like, oh, okay, well, thank you,
But no,
thank
really.
you.
Avocado.
Yeah,
Thanks. All of you, if you don't know that mean, go look it up.
yeah,
Avocado.
literally.
Thanks. I've been in situations like that where you overtalk or overshare, and you can see their facial expressions change, and now you're looking at a person that's looking at you like, why are you sharing it with
Yeah.
me? Be it because you don't have the experience, be it because you were gross,
Yeah.
in my case, be it because I don't know, because they really aren't interested, but you can see their face change from that sort of like interest at the beginning to
Right.
like, I don't know why I'm here. Like, why are you talking to me? But I agree that is one. Another one that I think has kept me humble is well, I mean, I think it happens to everyone, but sometimes, okay, call it a ¿cómo le dicen esos? Work-related habit or whatever. Okay, so for as the administrator of it, right? It's not that I push myself, but I have to be welcoming. I want to be welcoming, and so I'm always saying hi. I'm always, God bless you y todo eso y así, ¿no? So it comes natural to me now. That of like, oh, God bless you, and bye, and smiles and todo eso. So it's happened to me before.
Who is she?
Exactly. So it's happened to me before where I'm already in that like, okay, yes, it's Sunday, let's be welcoming, let's be smileys and todo eso. And someone passes by and I'm like, God bless you, and they were not saying hi to me, or they were not even looking at me, and I was just, God bless you. Or it's happened to me before where I'm like, God bless you, and I don't think they do it because they're rude or anything. It's just they didn't see my hand.
Right,
At least that's what I'd like to think. And I was just like, God bless you.
I take it back.
Yeah. So that's kept me humble because I realized I do it on automatic. I don't put much thought into it now. That I just automatically, God bless you and bye, and God bless you and parezco Barbie. So much so that every time I see someone saying bye or waving,
think they're talking to
I
you.
think they're talking to me.
Oh, I see what
And
you're
so
saying.
that's why my reflex is God bless you, and then it wasn't me.
And you know what's funny? Lula actually will physically be like, oh, you weren't talking to me. She always literally has to call out the awkwardness. She can't just be like, no, she is like, oh, they weren't looking at me. You know, I do it. Like, it wasn't awkward. Now it's awkward.
Oh my
But
god!
you do
I don't
that.
know why I do that.
I think you process it outwardly. I think you like
I
it's
have
a
to do
coping
it out loud.
mechanism
Yeah, I think so.
of like I had to cope with the fact that.
But you know what? I actually do. I've done it to that person. I've done it. I've gone.
No,
You
dude.
literally ignore me.
Ay, Luna, that's so embarrassing. That's cringy.
I know,
That's
but
so
I don't
cringy.
know. It come like I don't have a filter.
It's
for
a
that.
coping
So,
mechanism.
Maybe yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, you made me feel awkward.
I'm gonna make you feel awkward.
Let me make you feel awkward.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think maybe I give what I get.
But it's a good thing, as you were mentioning, you know, like, in a sense, an experience that can keep you humble is when you're not noticed. I think for me, and I don't say this again, I love Lula. Lula knows I love her. But going out with Lula in public was humbling to me. And I'll say it for this reason. Lula puts a lot of effort in what she wears. Sometimes. You know, obviously she
balance,
has,
baby.
she has her tirada days, obviously.
Yes.
But she has a very distinct style, you know? Like, she has pieces of clothing, like, oh my gosh, I wish I had a photo of you for Sunday's outfit. I still think it's my favorite outfit so far. But, for the record, Lula's closet is like, 12 feet long, 4 feet wide. You know, she has every color in the rainbow. She has shoes for days. She has a storage unit that, like, has her summer clothing, and then she takes it out and alternates it. She has a lot of clothes, and so there's always a new episode, and she's funky. Like, some outfits are like almost look Asian inspired, and then some are like, oh, what is that look where you wear the street wear? How did you know what I was thinking? She has streetwear, and then she has like some things that are very Mexican, you know, like inspired and stuff. Anyways, there's always something new. So I have a very, very simple style. Very, very simple style. And so going out with Lula was interesting because we would go to the bank, and then there would be someone like, oh, I really like your dress. And I'd be like, and someone else, oh my God, you look really nice. And I'm like, at some point I stopped turning, and I started to just literally keep my face straight, and I would just hear that, oh, thank you, you're so sweet, you know, knowing that it was obviously for Lula. It happened to us recently where
oh my God,
this-
the laundry.
yeah, the laundry lady,
that,
she was like, oh my
embarrassing
God,
to me.
you tienes unos ojos tan bonitos. I was like, wow, dude, they're not just complimenting what you're wearing now they're complimenting your eyes, you know, because she has big eyes. And so that in itself, and that's not just for you, for the record, in general, there have been experiences where you realize I'm not the prettiest one, nor the most best dressed in the room.
Mm-hmm.
How do I handle that? How do I handle where what I put on today was my best in the situation, and someone else put on their best, and their best is better than my best. You know, that's humbling. That's also like, oh, no soy la última coca en el desierto, you know? And I think in a sense, even though this isn't really like a lesson type, you know, podcast, but take what you can from it. I think that understanding that you're not it is important.
Oh, yes.
Because if you always go based off of your highlights, and you're always like, I have to be the best and the most noticed and the most popular and the most this, that you no vas a tener cabeza, no vas a tener your feet on the ground.
Oh, no. No, va a estar, tu cabeza va a estar llena de aire.
And handling rejection or indifference from people, I think, is necessary in this life, because if you think that everybody's always going to be interested in what you have to say or in your smarts and your talents, I mean, dude, oh my God, I have a story. Okay, so I have a story. Okay, and it's humbling, cringy, embarrassing, todo.
Oh,
Okay.
Tell it.
So I accepted to participate for a women's conference. And the sister asked me, hey, you know, can you sing for this event? Mind you, I haven't sang in the praise team in like 6 years. I already, and I've always told Lula this, she's a witness to this. I know what my voice can do. And
She
so
knows her lane.
I know that my voice can hold a tune on, if it's the key of F, I've realized. But I know that I'm more of a support. So I work best in choirs. I work best as a backup singer. And I don't say that to limit. I just say that's what just God gave me, right? I was supposed to sing with someone. They weren't able to make it. And so I had to sing by myself. After 6 years that I haven't sang, I'm up there singing, right? And I'm singing and I'm doing my best. And I'm like, this is for God. This is a sacrifice. I really did it with all my heart. And
it showed, guys. It showed.
I was like, the sisters will forgive me, whatever. Anyways, altar call comes. And, we sing the first song, and I realize, the sisters are still up there. They're still praying, and, they don't want the song to just cut, like that. And the song that we had practiced was one of those songs that if you keep repeating it, it's just not it, right? So I had to come up with something on the spot, like we got to sing something else. And the only song that I had thought of prior to going up to altar call was the only song I had in my head. So I thought, that's the only, I can't think of literally no other song. So I looked it over at my friend on keys, and I was like, that's the song we're going to sing. And he just went, all right. And so I'm over here thinking, what's the note? What's the note to that song? And it should be algo está cayendo aquí, right? I sang algo está cayendo aquí. I literally sang it in a weird tune. I couldn't hear it. I could not hear it for the life of me. And I was singing with my eyes closed, and I was really trying to hear the melody, and I couldn't. He's on keys looking at me like I'm trying to push this louder so you can hear. I'm looking at him, and I'm literally just, I have this thing, it's my tick, when I make a mistake, I hit myself like this, and I'm just like, I'm telling him low-key, I can't do this, like, I can't get the beat. There's also our worship leader on the freaking audience, and I'm like, why am I here and you're there? Why are you not singing? So I'm, trying to get the song, and I can't. At some point, I had to cut it off because ladies got up from the altar. Like, it was almost like, oh, she's trying to signal that it's time to finish the altar call with a song. Like, we never thought a song was going to signal us that it's time to get up, So I'm like trying to recover, okay, let's go back to the song that we sang at the beginning to try to bring it all together. Anyways, obviously, after it was over, I was super thankful. I got out of there as soon as possible. I was like, I'm out. But it was horrifying because I was like, I know it sucked. I know that it really was not on key, But you never think anybody is going to reinforce that for you, right? No, you never think, well, classic Garcia, classic Garcias,
I'm sorry.
If you know anything about the Garcia family, is that they call it like it is, right? This was on a Saturday. Sunday morning, her aunt, who's a super dear friend of mine, Sister Mireya, hopefully one day we can have her on the podcast. She's even though she's your aunt, she's my friend.
Yes.
So her daughters are close friends of mine. So anyways, so I'm over here. I'm in the office with Lula, just hanging out, and she's just like, "Thank you so much for helping us." She's the ladies director, and I was just like, "Yeah, of course. No, it was just bad. I tried my best. Me clearly being like,
don't kick the dog while it's down,
right? And she's like, sí, pero de veras no te salió bien con la última. Like, de veras te salió bien mal, I was like, internally, dying. Outwardly, like, sí, ¿verdad? Sí, ¿verdad? Obviously, I played it off. Her and her cousin, Edith, were just dying, like, classic mom, classic Mireya, just calling it like it is. But in eternity, I was like, yeah, like there you go. Like it was as bad as I thought, you know.
I know.
But you know, I don't say this to bash her. I say this yet again, humbling moment. You know, like something would be off if I walked away from that experience
thinking, wow, amazing.
I'm amazing. Like I am the best. I could do every solo from now on. Move these like praise team singers, they're beneath me. Like that, now you have a problem, you know? And so I think that despite of the fact that, you know, for like 3 minutes I might have died, it was a good experience because, you know, also I do think in friendships we lack honesty sometimes and having that like, I'm gonna tell you the hard truth. And so coming from a friend that I love, coming from someone that I admire and I love, you know, yeah, it stings, but it doesn't hurt, you know, because obviously you're like, okay, it's the truth, you know? So I think that was an actual recent story of keeping it humble, man.
Keeping it humble.
Yeah. So,
however, I'll say this. I thought it was very brave of you to have, first of all, when they first asked you to have say yes. And then second of all, to still remain with your yes of, I'm going to do it even if the other person can make it. Props to her, honestly. De admirarse. Me quité el sombrero. I thought of a situation, pero se me olvidó. Y ahorita que you were talking, me acordé de a mí me han pasado varias. Pero for confidentiality reasons, I can't disclose that.
I mean, okay, so we've obviously touched on appearance and clothes. We've talked about, you know, stories and things that are important, you know, that you want to share that aren't. Talent. Have you ever been humbled by your intelligence as a person who you are educated and you are a very smart person, sometimes a little know-it-all, but she's a very smart person, you know, have you ever been humbled in that sense?
Yes. Well, yeah, recently, okay, so my car has been having issues, right? And again, even though I'm a know-it-all y todo eso, I don't carry myself thinking I need to know everything, right? But when my car does have problems, sometimes it baffles me how simple things are, and yet I don't know anything about it. So my car has been having so many issues, and you know, a friend of ours has been kind to take a look at the car and everything. And then sometimes there are things that I'm just like, okay, you deal with that. I have no idea. But then sometimes he comes at me with like, well, your tires. They're like, ¿cómo le dices? Están lisas. Y yo,
you know what's funny is that as she's telling the story, there's the actual terminology that he tells her that she can't.
I can't. Yeah. And I remember telling her, because I had issues, and I remember telling her, I don't know why he uses actual terminology. Does he think I'm gonna understand? Like, I don't. I have no clue what he's talking about. And then he gets together with other guys, other friends of ours from church, and they start talking about cars. My brain leaves the truck. My brain is like, I just know wheel and this thing.
The Prindle?
Yes. I don't even know the name of it. I just know it.
No, it's a joke because PRNDL.
Ah, okay.
Just read Prindle.
Right. I just know that. And that's it. And I you know, and so I've had conversations with him where he's telling me all that's wrong with my car and I need to fix this, and you know, sometimes we do this and blah 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 blah. I'm like, and I'm looking at him with this face of like, yeah, no, I get it. That makes sense. Oh yeah, it makes sense. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I have no clue what he just said. I just know that there's something wrong with my car. He's gonna fix it, and then I'll pay for it. That's it. So that's been one, and then the other one is, I think I don't know, maybe not so much with you, but with Pastor constantly. That happens to me, and not so much because he makes me feel like purposefully, no, but he'll say things like, you know this, and in my head I'm like, no, I don't. he'll have a conversation with us. You remember? He'll have a conversation with us, and he'll, for example, he'll talk about the Mexico's history, because he's very knowledgeable. And he doesn't ask you, but he asks me because I grew up in Mexico.
Right.
Of course I should know. So he turns and looks at me. Well, you know this. Y yo, yeah. Clue.
I still don't know who Benito Juarez is. Or the one guy he always tells me, and I always forget.
Like a president?
I wanna
Hidalgo.
say- Yes, Miguel Hidalgo. I still don't know who he is.
Yeah. They were both presidents.
Benito Juarez? I thought he was a singer. Wasn't he a singer?
No,
But
he's a president.
That shows as much as how much I know of
He's a
Mexican
president.
history.
And so I've been in conversations like that where he's, well, you know this.
Nope.
Or
Oh,
anyone.
God forbid you tell Pastor, yeah, I know.
And then, you do. Explain it to me.
Explain it to me. Proceeds to explain and yeah, but no.
So those keep me. Not only do they keep me humble, they keep me. I need to inform myself. Like, okay, eso de la historia como quiera, pero de la Biblia, like when he says, you know what Romans 3:16 says, no? Y yo,
And I honestly, like, it's hard because he always had a habit of saying, like, Kes, you know this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I don't know what that verse says. Like, why do you think that I know what that verse says?
but you
know?
do know more Bible than I do.
I mean, I know stories, but I don't know scripture the way he does, obviously.
Well, he's a pastor, right? But I do think there's a part of him that wishes for people to be like, I know, and proceeds to recite it.
Let me read it in Spanish, in English, and in these three versions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be impressed. I think, but definitely, I mean,
In the intelligence part.
the intelligence parts. Oh yeah, it's one of those moments.
Right now, with a new job that I have, I've been there now for about 3 months to an undisclosed location that no one will ever know. But in this particular job, it was so frustrating the first 3 weeks, being in a position where I knew a job for such a long time, for about 7 years, and moving to a place where I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. And it was frustrating because I kept wanting to put a standard for myself of like, I should know this by now. I should have figured this out in 3 days, and it's not to say that, the job is easy. By no means am I trying to say that, and that's why I should know. It's just I didn't like the feeling of not knowing. I didn't like the feeling of not being proficient at what I know or what I do. And to this day, there are still things that I'm still learning. I'm still making mistakes, and that's humbling. Getting an email from your boss like, "Hey, you made this mistake. You gotta fix it," and you're like, "Oh, I made a mistake," And so I think that what you're saying is obviously like there's always someone that's gonna know something that you don't.
Yeah.
My husband, it's so funny because he says this and it makes me laugh because he's like, one of my things that I always told myself was that when I get married, I'm gonna marry someone smarter than I am, and I think that's hilarious because I don't think I'm smarter than him. I honestly think that he has genius, in his craft. He is so knowledgeable, and my husband loves to read. So I will live, and I honestly think I'm like, man, if he was wrong, I wouldn't know. Because I ask him things, babe, why does this happen? Why does that work? Babe, you see that stream? Why does it flow that way? Because he reads, and he knows things. Lula's very similar también. Y si no sabe, lo inventa. And I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense, So in my head, it's like, wow, like there's always like you might not know anything about putting floors. Someday you might need to have someone to do floors, or even in plumbing, when he talks to me about plumbing and he's like, dude, this was a 15-minute job. That's it. It's going to cost this person $300, $400. Because how are you going to do it? You don't know how to fix it. Electricians, there's so many things. Any trade, you're just like, ¿y qué vas a hacer? You can't do anything. Your car, So I think, yes, 100% to go through life and to think that you know it all or that you are somehow better than other people, or education. That's another thing that people do, that they're like, oh, because yo soy educada, yo sé. Or because I have a bachelor's degree, master's degree, or whatever, I am somehow superior to you. And it's like, no, dude, what is that? No. So, yes, 100% in the education aspect, that is humbling.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking? What else has kept me humble? So, a year ago, I think it's 2 years ago, I cut my hair very short. I cut it right up, around my neck, por ahí así. And I remember.
Should I put 2 images of what you remind me?
If you want to.
Just kidding.
And I remember my sister started calling me broccoli. Because you know how broccoli is like big arriba y delgado abajo.
Yeah.
So she's like, my broccoli, whatever, So obviously it irked me the first few times, but later I found it funny. And then when I thought I was over with that, we were watching Shrek. I don't know why. And she's like, and I don't know why I had my hair. It wasn't straight, but it wasn't curly. Yeah, it was just literally like this. And we were watching Shrek, and she's like, oh my God, you look like Lord Farquaad. I'm like, Jesus. So then from broccoli, I went to you look like Lord Farquaad, and then I think another one of my sisters mentioned Edna mode. So yeah, my family keeps me humble.
Oh, family of course keeps you humble.
I mean, Kelly till this day, even though my hair is longer, she still calls me broccoli.
Honestly, that one's clever. That one was clever.
And then it makes sense because even the broccoli it's kind of curly.
Yeah, it is.
So I was just like, that's so funny. That's so
cute.
funny. But now I find it funny. Just don't go around calling me broccoli because I don't know how I'll take it.
You know what's also humbling? I think it's humbling when you have to face a situation where you need help. Sometimes coming to terms that you're like, I don't know how to do this, or I really need to ask for help. One of the first experiences I had here in my house was that I got home, and when I drove in the car and I had the garage door open and I was getting out of the car, I noticed this massive beetle.
I remember this too.
Massive beetle.
It's one of my favorites.
Right close to the door. If you know anything about me, I hate bugs. So I see this beetle, I freak out, and I'm standing and I'm just like, what, oh my God, stuff in the car. Like, I paralyzed. Joel's upstairs in the 3rd floor, and he's taking a shower. And I don't know what he's doing. I am assuming that he is able to hear me. And I'm like, babe, the garage door's open. Mind you, the garage door is open. So I'm like, I'm going to get in my car, and I'm going to close the garage door. Why would she do that? I close the garage door, got in the car, and I start calling him on the phone. And he's not picking up because he's in the shower. I learned later. And I'm like, babe, calling on the thing, and I'm leaving voicemails, text messages, audios, Marcos, everything. Babe, there's a beetle, please. I can't get to the door, like, please, can you get out? It got so bad. We have cameras in the house. So I started going through the camera, and I was yelling, babe! Literally in the, car, yelling, screaming, crying in desperation that he's not gonna get out. He doesn't hear me. I've called 11 times. I've left 30 messages. I've yelled through the camera. He's nowhere to be found. So I'm like, I have to face this beetle. I have to do something, right? I get off the car and I'm like no tengo de otra. I open the garage door again. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like get an escoba and I'm gonna like shoo it out of the garage, and then I'm gonna close the garage door as soon as possible. So I'm like, and I'm like crying, trying to get this beetle, when this neighbor of mine, obviously seeing this random girl crying, he's just walking by, un viejito, mind you. And I'm like, ¿me puede ayudar? ¿Me puede ayudar? ¿Me puede ayudar? This viejito is like, ¿es una araña? No sé qué. No, es que mi esposo no me contesta. Está arriba. And he's like, oh, okay. So he gets close. Oh, creo que es una... No sé cómo se dicen esas cosas. Se vuelan, algo así. Sí, es como un beetle. Dude, this is 2 years ago. I'm not a child. And he's like, oh, okay. Takes off his freaking chancla, smacks it, and it kills it. And he's like, oh, pues ahí está, señorita. I'm like, muchas gracias. He walks away. I close my garage door. As I'm going into the house, Joel's coming down, dripping wet. What is going on? What's wrong? You didn't comfort me. There was a beetle. I had to ask the neighbor. You abandoned me. And he's like, why didn't you go through the front door? Like, you could have driven out, parked outside, closed the garage door, walked through the front door. Like, I don't understand. I was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. I was so panicked. I never thought about, you're right. I could have just driven out. Oh my God, dude. The most humbling experience I have had in this house. And naturally, I sent her this video and I tell her everything. She left just like this. At my pain, at my embarrassment. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite stories, guys.
Definitely not la última coca en el desierto for smarts. Like, I don't understand what went through my head. I talk about no fight or flight,
You freeze.
I freeze.
You freeze.
And that poor viejito, every time I see him around the property, like, I avoid eye contact because I always remember that day. I'm like, oh my God, what did he see? So yeah. That was an actual story, guys.
Ay, Dios mío. Ooh.
This was having a field day.
Ay, no.
It wasn't that funny.
You know what it is? It's because I know to a T, I know those facial expressions. I know you tried right now to sort of
Mimic
it, but I know I can visualize you. I can visualize your face. I can visualize the tone in which you were crying. I can visualize everything because I know you. I've seen you freeze when you see spiders or any bug, Yeah. So I know how that must have been for you. I'm like, I don't know why, but
you didn't even know where I was gonna go with that story.
No.
And the moment I said beetle,
yes, no.
you knew.
No, the moment you said garage and the beetle was like, I know which one it is. Ay, no, there's no way. I don't have a story that tops that. I do. So, I've had humbling moments, but gosh.
Dang, that's humbling. That's humbling in itself. They're like, no, I haven't had it that bad.
No, I've had bad moments, but I don't think I can disclose them right now.
Right.
But definitely that was a very a very good one.
Ultimately, the whole point of this story time is, one, we've all been we've all been humbled through
Yes.
some kind of life experience.
Yes.
But more importantly, are you walking away with a level of self-awareness that understands that it's okay, that you're not always going to be it, and are you handling that truth
Mm-hmm.
the right way? Because if you're walking away by someone else's achievements, for example, if every time that Lula got a compliment, I took from that and I was like, I'm not pretty, or I don't dress nice, or I'm not worth anything, or I'm not attractive, that's not the way we should be handling it. Or because someone's smarter, I'm an idiot, I'm stupid. No, 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 no. We have to understand that rejection and being humbled and being in a room where you're not it is actually healthy for us. It keeps us in a sense of, okay, then I have no reason to treat someone less than,
Right. Yes.
because I'm neither better than them nor worse than them. So respect at the end of the day, And so this is something that, in a weird way, I've been working towards in my personal life, understanding that I need to learn to be unaffected by what happens in other people's lives, positive or negative. I'm not going to use someone else's misfortune to make myself feel better, but I'm also not going to use someone's success to make myself feel less, because it's different seasons, it's different lives, it's different situations, it's different privileges. It's just different. And
Right.
if you're going to use someone else's life as a way and a means to put yourself down, you're not handling it the right way. And there's a lot of benefit in shrugging off your limitations and being able to just be like, this is what it is.
I am who I am. And the things that I can work on, I'll work on. And the things that I can, they're not within my hands. They're not within my hands. Ya no puedo. My mom siempre me decía, siempre va a haber alguien mejor que tú y siempre va a haber alguien peor que tú. Si te comparas con el que es mejor que tú, bad. Si te comparas con el que está peor que tú, bad. So there's always that area where you need to be grounded, where you're like, well, at least I'm not there. I'm not that. No. Porque entonces también puedes irte al otro extremo de que, ay, but she has this or he has that, and look at me, I don't. Why? So, yeah, definitivamente la comparación siempre te va a matar tu espíritu.
100%. And so, if you take anything from this story,
from
these stories, know that
this one
you're not the only one that has been humbled. And if you had a week where there was a part of you that was like, I had a rough week, I was humbled, you're not alone. And try to find if there is any bright side to it. Try to find it. What's the bright side of that story? I can share it and make my best friend laugh. And it's a kick for me. And it's something that I'm going to dramatize when I'm a mother with my kids. And no, guys, it was a tarantula that was on the wall. It was this big. The ones that you see in Australia, it was here where I live. And, the bright side is that I now know that an escape route can be driving out of the garage and going through the front door, right? So, take it for what it is.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Today's episode, it was Kes. It was your episode, Kes. I love it. I do have stories, but I can't share them.
We'll talk about it
personal. We'll talk about them after. But guys, share some of your stories that are shareable. Moments that kept you humble. I agree with Kes 100%. Being humbled is not a bad thing. Actually, it's a good thing. Siempre y cuando salgas de ahí thinking, I learned something. I found out that there's an exit.
Has your husband ever looked at you and been like, before he even says hi, been like, wow, babe, you have ashy elbows? That's humbling. Take it for what it is.
Well, you know what? Now that you say that, I was reminded of at church, our friend. He told me the other day, you know how I can tell if it's a hot day or not? Like if it's humid or not? I'm like, no, it's like by your hair. I'm like, he's like, yeah, you get here in the morning and it's it's not flat, but it doesn't have the
It's
volume.
controlled.
It's controlled. You leave and it's huge. It's like
It really is. It really
I'm
is.
like, oh my god, Tony. And he's like, just saying, sister. But
Weather.
that can be humble, real.
It's like Mean Girls. It's gonna be hot day.
yes. Like, oh, okay.
It's hot.
So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here with us. We hope you enjoyed it, and stick around. Bye.
Bye.